So the other day I got on a shuttle at the airport, was going from where my car was parked to the terminal. And almost right after I got on, this older couple got on as well and sat pretty close to me. And the bus started driving just after they got on and got situated. And it was almost directly after the bus started driving that the woman started rummaging through her purse. She was clearly looking for something. And she goes, "They're not in here." And he goes, "What?" And she says, "Well, my sunglasses, they're not in here." And he goes, "They're not anywhere in there?" And she goes, "No." And he says, "Well, could they be in one of the other bags?" And she goes, "No, I told you I left them on the counter." And then it was like the guy went from a level 1 to a level 10 like that, like just overnight. He just goes, "Oh, it's always my fault, isn't it?" And it was like, holy cow, that escalated quickly. And obviously from there, it started to devolve into this kind of ridiculous argument. And I just did my best to stare straight forward, not make eye contact, and pretend like I couldn't hear a word they were saying. But it connects to the principle today. Generalities are often an enemy of healthy relationship, because what is a generality? Well, it's a sweeping blanket statement that fails to acknowledge the specifics of circumstances and the nuances of situations. So when he says, "It's always my fault, isn't it?" is that helpful as it relates to the way he views himself or the way things are going to progress in this conversation? Probably not. Why? Because it's a sweeping statement that, with all likelihood, isn't actually true. And if he were to spend time and think logically about it, is it always his fault? No. So what's happening there? Well, his emotions are driving his language, and then you just kind of get out of control. But how often do we do this to ourselves? And it starts in our head, in our self-talk, right? We say, "I can never," or "I always," or "I will never," or "I'm just not." These are all sweeping blanket statements. They're generalities that really damage our view of ourselves. And what we need to remember is that the standard we apply to ourselves, we always extend to others. And so if we're willing to apply generalities to ourselves, like, I'm just not very good with people, or I just never find myself organized, or I'm just not very disciplined. Well, those are sweeping statements that we're now applying to our whole identity, and we shouldn't be surprised that whenever we grow in the habit of applying generalities to ourselves, we then start saying, "They just never show up on time. They just never do anything right. They just don't care about this company. They just don't care about me," right? And in reality, that's not helpful, because it's probably not true. It's not really a helpful tactic or tool to make sweeping statements that, although they simplify, they don't really get specific. So what do we need to do? Well, if we're going to guard healthy relationship with ourselves and with others, we need to speak and operate in the realm of specifics. It's okay to have negative feedback for yourself and for others. Just don't make it general. Make it specific. What's going on that needs to change? What specifically, what precisely, what exactly happened within yourself and the way you acted, or the way you talked, or the way you thought, or the way you engaged that needs to change? Because if you can learn to deal with yourself in the realm of specifics, you can then extend that same approach to others. Generalities are often an enemy of healthy relationship. Let's go.